I belong to family of doctors in a way. के first doctor I met in my life is my dad, and he's a pathologist by profession. और बहुत ही यंग एज से मैं अबू के साथ जाया करती थी उनकी लैब, और वहां पे वो माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे कुछ बैठे देख रहे होते थे, एंड ही यूज्ड टू डायग्नोज स्टफ, एंड आई ऑलवेज वाज वेरी एस्टोनिश्ड एंड always very, wanted to do what he was doing. And number of times he would make me look in the microscope, and मैं देखती थी pink और purple color के patterns over there, and I would like how on earth he's making these diagnoses just based on looking at those patterns. So I just was always very impressed by him. And then I was very good at biology rather than math. So I wanted to choose a field where there is biology, and obviously that left me with medicine. But jokes apart, I was always keen and eager to follow the footprints of my dad, and I had in a very young age I decided I'll be a doctor. I used to play games with me being a doctor and my siblings being the patients. So then, I did my A levels and from Beacon House, and was very determined to get into King Edward. Again, the same reason. My dad used to teach in King Edward, and from very young age, and my dad is also a Chemcolian. So from very young age, again, I was coming to King Edward, and I was always fascinated by that Patiala block. And I wanted to be, studying one day in one of those, historic classrooms, and why wanted my name on the honor board. So got into King Edward. Life was a little different in King Edward's compared to A levels, but there were like very positive things over there as well. Made great friends for life, but other things. But it was always fun. Anatomy, physiology, all those years, forensics, and then pharmacology. Pathology was very dear to me, as I told you, and also because of my dad. And so that was a subject that was very close to my heart. And the main change that came in my life, that paved my way um, to do USMLEs, was one day my father took me to his reunion. There were many people from US that were gathered, and they especially came for that reunion to Lahore. And I met two very accomplished ladies. Believe you me, they were so down to earth. They were very encouraging, and I just got really inspired by them. And I discussed this with my dad. I'm like, Abu, I really want to at least go once in my life to US and see how things are over there. Some of my seniors had done electives in US, and so I thought maybe that's a way of me to go to United States and see the healthcare system over there. And I started applying for the electives, and I knew that if I would do it before my graduation, it would be easier and maybe more helpful for me to decide whether I take a field of pathology or I do internal medicine, because these were my two favorite subspecialties. But I chose Yale. My seniors, I think one of my classmates also came from Yale. He did his elective. So I knew like things about Yale, good things about Yale. And then the other one was University of Vermont, where I got into pathology. Yale, I got into rheumatology. And then the other one was Cornell University. And I could not find a place to stay in New York, so I gave up my Cornell University. But in Yale, if you would pay like, I don't know, $2,400, or some reason they said no, they are already booked and stuff like that. But Vermont said, okay, yes, I mean, you can come and have rotation with us. So that's why I chose Vermont. And then I I booked a hotel with a free shuttle to the hospital, and it was expensive. Other thing was, I am a very dependent and shy kind of a girl, and I never traveled alone. And so I don't want to travel alone at that time. And I asked my mother to come with me. She her principal to give her 2 months off for, I don't know, unpaid or something, or she had saved some vacation. So she got 2 months and she traveled with me. Next was Yale. And in Yale came the St. Patrick's Day, and people were out on the streets and they were like, all kind of stuff going on with throwing a bottle of wines and all that. When one fine day I was coming back from home, so I got really scared. But long story short, it was kind of a difficult situation for me, for somebody who had nobody to tell you what's going on. It was very important that I stayed determined, and I did. And but I learned, and then I applied and got date in Chicago. And this is, I'm talking about 2007. I graduated in May and then gave my US step 2 USMLE CS in July. Again, there was nobody for me to lend me a place to stay in Chicago. So with my mother, traveled to Chicago and stayed in a hotel for 1 more month. And I said, if I pass, I will pursue. If I fail, I'll just give up. I'm not very, I was not, I don't know. It
हो
started
गया नहीं हुआ
seeming.
तो ना सही,
हाँ बिल्कुल. Result came, I passed, and Abu said, now since तुमने CS कर लिया, चलो अब step 1 करके देख लो. मैंने कहा ठीक है, कर लेते हैं. I got determined. Within a year I gave my step 1, got good score. I think it was 95, 96 उस जमाने के. तो was seniors encouraged कि हाँ ठीक है कर लो. मैं अब step 2 भी कर लो. चलो जी, step 2 भी कर लिया. step 2 में भी 98 के करीब आ गए थे. Then I started applying. अभी भी इतनी tension नहीं थी. Started applying for residency. But I decided my first preference was pathology. And I actually did well in general pathology. I secured a medal from King Edward. So so pathology, as you know, is running in my blood and in my DNA in a good way. So I decided to be the pathologist. And obviously I saw during my electives, I thought lifestyle of a pathologist was better than any other subspecialty. And people can obviously disagree with me, because it might be, pathology is not for everybody, as I can clarify. People cannot sit from 8:30 to 5 o'clock in their office reading slides. It's not easy for other people. It's just some people are suited for this job, not everybody. So I saw all that in pathology. And although Abu wanted me to be internal medicine, but
Achha,
I
I
want
didn't
to.
know that. I thought he wanted you to be a pathologist, right?
No, never.
Achha.
So it was my own personal choice. Then I started applying for residency, and I think I got like between 10, 12 interviews, but that included both internal medicine and pathology. The other difficult, as soon as I started getting interviews, the next step was दोबारा से US जाना है. So Abu said, go alone. I'm like, नहीं, अब मैं नहीं जा सकती दोबारा, मुझे डर लगता है. Then my mother again packed her bags, or leaving my 2 siblings behind with my dad, and we flew to US again. And this time I got observership in University of Buffalo, and it was a pediatric pathology. क्योंकि it makes sense कि आप उसी चीज में observership करो जिसमें आप basically जाना चाहते हो. During from 2007 to 2009, I was doing voluntary work. I went to Mia Hospital. I went to one of a private labs. I wanted to see कि क्योंकि आपको पता है जब आप मेडिसिन अपनी 3rd या 4th ईयर में होते हो, आप इतनी ज्यादा पैथोलॉजी में बस वो ना जो होता है बड़ी मेन चीजें कर रहे होते. यू डोंट नो ग्रॉसिंग क्या होती है, यू डोंट नो फ्रोजन सेक्शंस कैसे होते हैं और क्या उन चीजें. तो उसके लिए मुझे जाना पड़ा लैब्स में डिफरेंट, और वॉलंटरी काम करना पड़ा. एट द सेम टाइम मैंने मेडिसिन में भी शेडोइंग की. I would be honest, मैंने हाउस जॉब नहीं की क्योंकि मैं अब्बू से डिस्कशन के बाद यही सोचा कि entire life you'll be working and earning money if you get into US, or even if you don't get into US, apne ultimately your goal is to be working. Professional person. My goal was at least to be all professional person, be it US, be it Middle East, be it Pakistan. So that's what I thought. And so he said, like, forget about house job, but tum apni observerships karo, Pakistan maybe, US maybe. So, aap jab interview dene jao, to you're not blank. Because people, hum log ki mentality hoti hai, us time pe meri bhi yahi mentality thi कि I'll fool the interview person. Easily आप कुछ बात करोगे and they'll believe in you, but ऐसा नहीं है. They are very smart people there who are judging you right there and then. मैं फिर बता रही थी आपको कि अभी ये चीजें, I come from a background of English speaking school, like मेरी सारी schooling Beacon House में हुई है. That was, but I'm not saying कि this really helped. Why? Because मैंने जो चीजें और communication यहाँ आके सीखी है ना, that's different. हम पाकिस्तान में चीजें different तरीके से सीखते हैं, पर मेन आप चीजें ऑब्जर्वरशिप से सीखते हो यहाँ पर आकर. और ऑब्जर्वरशिप रियली हेल्प मी. और मैं फिर जब पीडियाट्रिक पैथोलॉजी की ऑब्जर्वरशिप मिली बफलो में, तो आई डिसाइडेड एक और ठंडी जगह पे जाना, ठंडे सीजन में. तो अब वहां रहना कहाँ था, तो आई स्टार्टेड लुकिंग. तो किसी सीनियर ने बताया कि ये एक पाकिस्तानी है, ही इज रेंटिंग अ रूम. तो आई कॉल्ड हिम एंड मैंने उनको बोला कि मैं इस तरह से यहाँ पर अपना स्टेप 3 देने आ रही हूँ. आई गॉट रजिस्टर्ड फॉर स्टेप 3. or this was 2009 and I got matched in 2010. So I graduated in 7 and then I applied for residency in 9 in 2009. तो मैंने उनको बोला मैं इस तरह से आ रही हूँ अपनी अम्मी के साथ. तो he was very nice, he was very welcoming. ठीक है, आ जाओ, मैं तुम्हें एयरपोर्ट पे भी पिक कर लूंगा. मैंने कहा thank you so much. So one of the places where I emailed was the University of Tennessee, Memphis. And I emailed him, and one of our seniors was there, and he asked me. He was a Comcolian, Dr. Malik, Adnan Malik, and he said, apply in this program. I was like, okay, I applied. And I contacted the assistant program director. I said, like, I'm from Pakistan and I blah, 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 all that. And I want to get please invite me for an interview. And he replied to me, only if you pass your step 3. If you pass your step 3, send me your result. I'm like, okay. And I as soon as I passed, I sent him the result. Next day he called me. He's like, do din baad Memphis aa jao. I was in Buffalo and he was inviting me to Memphis. So then again, for the interview. Adnan Bhai gave us, was very nice. He said, mere ghar aake ruko. I stayed with him. I had an excellent interview with the program director and then the associate or assistant. I don't remember exactly. So he's also a great person. I want to mention Dr. Nadeem Zafar. He became the program director. But at that time when I was interviewing, he was I think he was associate program director. So he sat down with me, and now after the interview he said, मेरे कमरे में आओ और मैं तुम्हारा CV review करना चाहता हूँ. He's like, okay. So he saw each and everything and he said, अच्छा ठीक है. Then he, कहाँ रुकी हो, कैसे आई हो, क्या किया, अम्मी क्या बताया, अच्छा अम्मी के साथ आई हो, ठीक है. Then he let me go. चले गए. I left. And then I got a pre-match offer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. अभी उस पे घर में discussion चल ही रहा था कि because I didn't want it to. Internal medicine was my backup plan. My first preference was pathology, and my CV was catering both. Internal medicine and pathology. So ab ghar mein, now the discussion was I should take it. Abu was like, just take it. He really wanted to be internal medicine.
Right?
He's like, take it. I'm like, Abu, please. So the discussion was going on, and then my phone rang. and my dad called me, call hai US से, US से call है, किसकी call है? तो पता चला जी, my landlady, that African American lady, she was calling. She said कि I got a letter from University of Tennessee that they want to. तो मैंने 2-3 दिन से email check नहीं की थी. So she got a letter from university, or somehow she had my number. She called कि University of Tennessee said Dr. Nadeem Zafar wants to talk to you. And then I called him and he said, Amna, do you want to come here? I'm like, come to Memphis? Like, yes, I'm offering you match right now. I'm offering you pre-match now. Do you want to take it? अब उसे कहते हैं, he didn't even get me a chance to talk to my dad, and my dad was, क्या हुआ? I'm like, Abu, he's asking. He's like, ले लो, you want pathology? And I was like, yes. So Abu said, take it. Then I said yes to him, and I was, alhamdulillah, very blessed that he contacted the landlady, and landlady had my dad's or my landline, and that's how I accepted my pre-match in Memphis. When I gave, it was J1. So when I gave my J1, जब मैं इस्लामाबाद जा रही थी J1 का इंटरव्यू देने, मेरे ख्याल से मैं वाहिद लड़की होंगी दुनिया की जो कह रही होंगी अल्लाह में मेरा वीजा रिजेक्ट हो जाए प्लीज. तो मैं नहीं जा, क्योंकि I was so scared. Really, I mean, कि अगर accept हो गया फिर तो जाना ही पड़ेगा, जाहिर है. So it got accepted. I went again with my mother. Mama said, like, this time I'm just staying 2 weeks with you. That's it. And so she went with me again. And you know what I took with me? I took with me comforter, pillows, bed sheets, paper plates, glasses, स्पून्स और तो और मैंने खाना भी साथ लेके गई थी, वो जो कैन फूड्स होते हैं कि कहाँ खाएंगे जाके, कोई जानता तो नहीं था, किसी को जानते नहीं थे वहां पर. और बस फिर वहां पहुंच गए. We were in the lobby when I met Vakas Bhai. He was, I don't remember his last name, but he's also a Kemkolian. And I told him, and he said he recognized Abu. He was student of Abu, and he was very respectful. He took us for groceries, and he said, "मैं तुम्हें mosque लेके जाता हूँ." And then he took us to mosque for Friday prayer, and there I met another Pakistani lady who became friends with my mother, and then she started treating me like her own daughter. और उन्होंने फिर बहुत लोगों से इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया. मामा वापस चली गई, एंड एवरी टाइम शी वुड मेक फूड फॉर मी, और फिर मुझे आके देती थी. एंड देन हर सन वाज अ कॉलेज स्टूडेंट, एंड he had some time off, so he taught me driving because मुझे ड्राइव नहीं आती थी. I think at that time I realized I can take any challenge. Then within a year, I met my husband. He was doing residency also in family medicine, and within a year we got married. So alhamdulillah, he was always
in
very
the same
supportive.
program?
In the same
hospital?
program. No, different hospital. Different hospital, but I met his sister first, and then we met, and the families met, and then they decided. So, but then they were all very encouraging, and especially my husband. And
तो फिर आपने अपनी मदर को बताया, देख ले मेम्फिस में शादी भी होगी.
Exactly. That's all. हाँ, I think मैं मेम्फिस गई अपने हस्बैंड की वजह से थी. वो हस्बैंड के लिए थी शायद, because I had to get married there.
तकदीर वही लिखी थी ना.
That's the reason, exactly. Otherwise मेरा कोई और रीजन मुझे समझ नहीं आई आज तक कि मैं मेम्फिस गई क्यों. But you know, this was the destiny, and alhamdulillah, everything worked well, and got married, happily married. Alhamdulillah, he's still very supportive. And he completed his residency first and found a job. There then came the task of applying fellowship in pathology. Well, let me tell you one thing. In pathology, you cannot survive without a fellowship. And sometimes if you don't find a job, you have to do 2 fellowships. And I made him clear. I'm like, you know, I might have to take you from one place to another. लेकिन आपको पता है, if you become stubborn, अगर वो stubborn हो जाते तो then things would have been difficult for me. But he's alhamdulillah very flexible person, and you know जो कहते हैं ना, हर कामयाब मर्द के पीछे औरत होती है, इसी तरह हर कामयाब औरत के पीछे मर्द भी होते हैं. तो my husband and my dad are my biggest support in life, not to mention my brothers जो कि हमेशा अब्बू के साथ पीछे रहते थे, and they always like why we हम हमारे साथ ही क्यों ऐसे होता है. तो but you know, brothers also, so they were also encouraging throughout, but you know, he was very flexible. He said all right. Initially he did not know कि pathology इतनी इस तरह का सब फील्ड है कि यू हैव टू, ही वाज लाइक ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है कि पैथोलॉजी को जॉब नहीं मिलती होगी. जॉब मिलती है, पर ये है कि यू हैव टू बी वेरी, यू कैन नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्ट योरसेल्फ टू वन प्लेस. और मेम्फिस जैसी प्लेस तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं, क्योंकि यू आर प्रोड्यूसिंग मोर रेजिडेंट्स देन यू नो मोर जॉब्स. और फिर उसके बाद आई हैड माय डॉटर, और पैथोलॉजी इज अ सब स्पेशलिटी जिसमें बहुत पढ़ना पड़ता है. I mean, you have to be very much into books, like किताबी कीड़ा. उस तरह के लिहाज से आपको पैथोलॉजी पढ़नी पड़ती है. ये नहीं कह रही कि इंटरनल मेडिसिन और बाकी सब स्पेशलिटीज नहीं है, लेकिन आई डोंट नो अबाउट रेडियोलॉजी, पर हमारा तो रोज ही मॉलिक्यूलर मार्कर्स आ रहे हैं, नई थेरेपीज आ रही हैं, और नए ट्यूमर्स डिस्कवर हो रहे हैं, और नेम चेंजेस हो रहे हैं, और डब्ल्यूएचओ क्लासिफिकेशन चेंज हो रही है. आई डोंट नो वेदर यू गाइस नो डब्ल्यूएचओ क्लासिफिकेशन क्या, पर हमारी ट्यूमर क्लासिफिकेशन चेंज हो रही है. इतनी चीजें होती हैं, तो उसके लिए यू हैव टू बी abrupt to the you know abreast to the expanding horizon of your subspecialty. और I was in private practice for 3 years, और उसमें मुझे लगा कि मैं अपनी जो नॉलेज है ना, मेरी बिल्कुल ही जीरो हो रही है, क्योंकि आप वही रूटीन केसेस देख रहे हैं. तो Abu always wanted me to go to a university setting, and I applied in St. Louis and I got it. I became their faculty. लेकिन ये था कि वर्किंग आवर्स थोड़े से मेरे लिए ज्यादा थे, और लेकिन उसका मुझे फायदा भी बहुत इसलिए हुआ कि आई वेंट बैक टू बुक्स. I went back to books, और फिर I started the same journey कि मुझे लगा कि मैं वापस से रेजिडेंसी में आ गई हूँ. You are married now, you have a kid, तो अब पढ़ना भी तो है पैथोलॉजी में, और पास भी होना है. तो that's how sometimes I would study at work, or sometimes in the parking lot. So alhamdulillah, I cleared. And then for the fellowship I applied, but Hurricane Sandy came, and during that time I was expecting my first child, or uni dates mein, like December mein interviews the, or December mein Rumesa, my first one was due. Or so, and then I asked them कि November में मुझे बुला लो. I think Sandy came in October, November, and they said तुम November में अगर आ गई and something happened, we cannot take the responsibility. I said January में बुला लो, and they refused. So all my interviews got cancelled except Indiana University. And Indiana went to Indiana 2 weeks postpartum, and my fellowship director came to know about my determination, and she gave me the match right there and then, and I signed it, and my husband came to know now we have to move. So he was mentally prepared, but it was tough. He had to give 6 months notice. Somehow it was the hospital policy. तो मुझे हमारे इंटरव्यूज हो जाते हैं थर्ड ईयर में, फेलोशिप थर्ड ईयर में मिलती है, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट आफ्टर योर फाइनल ईयर. तो सब कुछ थर्ड ईयर में हो गया था. फाइनल ईयर, आफ्टर फाइनल ईयर आई मूव टू इंडियाना विद Rumesa. She was 6 months. No, she was not. Maybe more than 6 months, almost 1 year. And then my mother came again and helped me, and then my husband followed. उसके बाद the main task, and that was very nerve wracking, was the job search. I was also applying for hardship waiver, and husband was already green card, alhamdulillah, that was a plus, but he couldn't help me unless I get the waiver. job for pathology with the visa is a problem. Yes, and I was fortunate; it got accepted, and then I got into. My husband sponsored my green card, so I was very fortunate, Alhamdulillah, throughout. And